Hello and welcome to my patch notes rundown for the 4th of September. This week's update is arguably one of the most egregious ones in RuneScape history. I'm going to be quite brief because I've already gone through both of these topics in previous videos, which I will link in the description. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Ritual completion XP has been increased by 100% and ritual disturbance XP has been reduced by roughly 28.6%. Unfortunately, I think this topic is going to be completely overshadowed by the Hero Pass controversy, but I'll still provide the comprehensive numbers showing the differences after the change. For starters, it makes absolutely no sense to me why they would nerf the Disturbance XP, which requires engagement, but then also buff the Completion XP, which requires 0 engagement. Even though it's not a significant rebalance as shown by this image, it's pretty illogical. Just to note that the percentage figures next to the XP rates represent the percentage of the respective total XP per hour. A major disclaimer is that these numbers shown on this image are optimal rates. The reason it's important to use optimal rates for methods that have an XP range due to engagement is because it's easier and more accurate to work off it. Whereas, for example, if I give you a realistic range of 1.4 to 2.2 mil XP per hour for 120, it'd be much harder to judge and more convoluted to place an expectation for yourself. Ultimately, I think this is a bad change because assuming things stay relatively the same, which I assume is their intention considering this early nerf before any buffs have come in, and even though players are already spending more time training through combat over rituals, in the long run, this will become even more unjustifiably disproportionate. It's a shame that most people, understandably so, will end up training through AFK methods and not be incentivized to engage with the game and a fun piece of content. Now, here's a question I want you guys to ask yourselves. What makes two pieces of content balanced relative to each other? Is it the total amount of hours spent on each? Or is it the amount of benefit from each, whether it's XP or GP? Should we be comparing how many hours is spent on rituals versus combat? Or how much XP is gained through rituals versus combat? Or maybe there's a different form of measurement of balancing? Let me know. Now, moving on to the Hero Pass, again, I summarized pretty much everything I had to say about it in my previous patch notes video, but to briefly touch on it, I think they should revert the daily challenge XP rewards. Even though there are some valid reasons for it, a 70.8% nerf to the XP is way too harsh. Also, why do they exempt Iron Men from the daily XP rewards? Seems a little bit unnecessary. A second point is that it's too grindy. I think the purpose of battle passes in most games is to get players to log into the game and briefly engage with the content, and from there the content should be good enough to entice players to stay logged in. From my experience playing a lot of games, you can complete most battle passes by playing for about 30 to 60 minutes doing dailies every day for about 30 days of the 90-day duration of the battle pass. However, the Hero Pass doesn't just incentivize players to log in and engage with the game briefly, it goes way beyond that and encourages players to be the sole reason that you play the game. Lastly, my biggest issue with the pass is the content buffs. I don't care if JX sells XP or cosmetics that are higher quality than high level armor, but MTX should never encroach directly on how you engage with actual content, whether it's bossing, skilling, or anything else like clue scrolls. There are already a ton of features like this in the game, like protein traps, dwarven tools, portables, slayer wildcards, and the list goes on. You might say that these buffs are insignificant, which I'd agree, but it's part of an MTX, so realistically it's bound to get stronger over time. Right now there's a limited number of content buffs you can acquire, but what's stopping them from eventually selling them directly through bonds? Right now there's nothing that affects the efficiency of bossing, but what's stopping them from providing damage or drop rate buffs in the future? It's really a scary slippery slope. And that's it for this week's patch notes. The only way we'll see changes is if we make our voices heard in a constructive manner. Let JX know what you think on Discord, Reddit, Twitter, but do it in a respectful manner. The least productive thing that can come from this is by creating friction between developers and players. Be firm, be honest, but don't make it personal. At the end of the day, I honestly trust Mod Breezy, who has been working on this to make appropriate changes. Anyways, that's it from me. Thank you for watching and take care.